Chapter 1: The Secret Door to Success. A successful man is always asked, "What is the secret of your success?" People never ask a man who's a failure, "What is the secret of your failure?" It is quite easy to see, and they are not interested. People all want to know how to open the secret door to success. For each man, there is success, but it seems to be behind a door or a wall. We will talk now about your wall of Jericho, the wall separating you from success. Nearly everyone has built a wall around his own Jericho. This city you're not able to enter contains great treasures, your divinely designed success, your heart's desire. What kind of wall have you built around your Jericho? Often it is a wall of resentment, resenting someone or resenting a situation, shutting off your good. If you're a failure and resent the success of someone else, you're keeping away from your own success. I have given the following statement to neutralize envy and resentment. What God has done for others, He now does for me, and more. A woman was filled with envy because a friend had received a gift. She made this statement, and an exact duplicate of the gift was given her, plus another present. It was when the children of Israel shouted that the walls of Jericho fell down. When you make an affirmation of truth, your wall of Jericho totters. I gave the following statement to a woman: "The wall of lack and delay now crumble away, and I enter my promised land under grace." She had a vivid picture of stepping over a fallen wall and received the demonstration of her good almost immediately. It is the word of realization which brings a change in your affairs, for words and thoughts are a form of radioactivity. Taking an interest in your work, enjoying what you are doing, opens the secret door of success. A number of years ago, I went to California to speak at the different centers by way of the Panama Canal. And on the boat, I met a man named Jim Tully. For years, he'd been a tramp. He called himself the King of the Hobos. He was ambitious and picked up an education. He had a vivid imagination and commenced writing stories about his experiences. He dramatized tramp life, enjoyed what he was doing, and became a very successful author. I remember one book called Outside Looking In. It was made into a motion picture. He is now famous and prosperous and lives in Hollywood. What opened the secret door to success for Jim Tully? Dramatizing his life, being interested in what he was doing. He made the most of being a tramp. On the boat, we all sat at the captain's table, which gave us a chance to talk. Mrs. Grace Stone was also a passenger on the boat. She had written The Bitter Tea of General Yen and was going to Hollywood to have it made into a moving picture. She had lived in China and was inspired to write the book. That is the secret of success, to make what you are doing interesting to other people. Be interested in yourself, and others will find you interesting. A good disposition, a smile, often opens the secret door. The Chinese say, a man without a smiling face must not open a shop. The success of a smile was brought out in a French moving picture in which Chevalier took the lead. The picture was called With a Smile. One of the characters had become poor, dreary, and almost a derelict. He said to Chevalier, "What good has my honesty done me?" Chevalier replied, "Even honesty won't help you without a smile." So the man changes on the spot, cheers up, and becomes very successful. Living in the past, complaining of your misfortunes, builds a thick wall around your Jericho. Talking too much about your affairs, scattering your forces, brings you up against a high wall. I knew a man of brains and ability who was a complete failure. He lived with his mother and aunt, and I found that every night when he went home to dinner, he told them all that had taken place during the day at the office. He discussed his hopes, his fears, and his failures. I said to him, "You scatter your forces by talking about your affairs. Don't discuss your business with your family. Silence is golden." He took my lead. During dinner, he refused to talk about business. His mother and aunt were in despair. They loved to hear all about everything, but his silence proved golden. Not long after, he was given a position at $100 a week, and in a few weeks he had a salary of $300 a week. Success is not a secret, it is a system. Many people are up against the wall of discouragement. Courage and endurance are part of the system. We read this in lives of all successful men and women. I had an amusing experience which brought this to my notice. I went to a moving picture theater to meet a friend. While waiting, I stood near a young boy selling programs. He called to people passing by, "Buy a complete program of the picture containing photographs of the actors and a sketch of their lives." Most people passed by without buying. To my great surprise, he suddenly turned to me and said, "Say, this ain't no racket for a guy with ambition." Then he gave a discourse on success. He said, "Most people give up just before something big is coming to them. A successful man never gives up." Of course, I was interested and said, "I'll bring you a book the next time I come. It's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. You will agree with a lot of the ideas." A week or two later, I went back with the book. The girl at the ticket office said to him, "Let me read it, Eddie, when you're selling programs." The man who took tickets leaned over to see what it was about. The Game of Life always gets people's interest. I returned to the theater in about 3 weeks. Eddie had gone. He had expanded into a new job that he liked. His wall of Jericho had crumbled. He had refused to be discouraged. The road to success is a straight and narrow path. It is a road of loving absorption, of undivided attention. You attract the things you give a great deal of thought to. So, if you give a great deal of thought to lack, you attract lack. If you give a great deal of thought to injustice, you attract more injustice. Joshua said, "It shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people will shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people will ascend up, and every man straight before him." The inner meaning of this story is the power of the word, your word which dissolves obstacles and removes barriers. When the people shouted, the walls fell down. We find in folklore and fairy tale stories which come down from legends founded on truth the same idea. A word opens a door or cleaves a rock. We have it again in the Arabian Nights stories, Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. I saw it made into a moving picture. Alibaba had a secret hiding place, hidden somewhere behind rocks and mountains. The entrance may only be gained by speaking a secret word. It is, "Open Sesame." Alibaba faces the mountain and cries, "Open Sesame," and rocks slide apart. It's very inspiring, for it gives you the realization of how your own rocks and barriers will part at the right words. So, let us take the statement, "The walls of lack and delay now crumble away, and I enter my promised land under grace." End of chapter 1. Chapter 2, Bricks Without Straw. The children of Israel were in bondage to Pharaoh, the cruel taskmaster, ruler of Egypt. They were kept in slavery, making bricks, and were hated and despised. Moses had orders from the Lord to deliver his people from bondage. Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, "The Lord God of Israel said, 'Let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness.'" He not only refused to let them go, but told them he would make their tasks even more difficult. They must make bricks without straw being provided for them. It was impossible to make bricks without straw. The children of Israel were completely crushed by Pharaoh. They were beaten for not producing the bricks. Working with the spiritual law, they could make bricks without straw, which means to accomplish the seemingly impossible. How often in life people are confronted with this situation? Agnes Lawson says the life in Egypt under foreign oppression is the symbol of man under the hard taskmasters of destructive thinking, pride, fear, resentment, ill will, etc. The deliverance under Moses is the freedom man gains from the taskmasters as he learns the law of life, for we can never come under grace except we first know the law. The law must be made in order to be fulfilled. Now, if we read the word Lord, in brackets law, it will give us the key to the statement. The fear of the law, in brackets karmic law, is the beginning of wisdom, not the fear of the Lord. When we know that whatever we send out comes back, we begin to be afraid of our own boomerangs. I read in a medical journal the following facts telling of the boomerang this great pharaoh received. It would appear that flesh is indeed heir to a long and ancient line of ills, when as it was revealed by Lord Moynihan at a lecture at Leeds, that the pharaoh of the oppression suffered from hardening of the heart in a literal sense. Lord Moynihan showed some remarkable photographic slides of results of surgical operations 1,000 years BC, and among these was a slide of the actual anatomical remains of the pharaoh of the oppression. The large vessel springing from the heart was in such a well-preserved state as to enable sections of it to be made recently from the lantern slide. It was impossible to distinguish between the ancient and modern vessel. Both hearts had been attacked by atheroma, a condition in which calcium salts are deposited in the walls of the vessel, making it rigid and inelastic. Inadequate expanse to the stream of blood from the heart caused the vessel to give way. With this condition went the mental changes that occur with a rigid arterial system, a narrowness of outlook, restriction, and dread of enterprise, a literal hardening of the heart. So Pharaoh's hardness of heart hardened his own heart. This is true today as it was several thousand years ago. We're all coming out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Your doubts and fears keep you in slavery. You face a situation which seems hopeless. What can you do? It is a case of making bricks without a straw. I was told the story of a woman who needed money for her rent. It was necessary to have it at once, but she knew of no channel. She exhausted every avenue. However, she was a truth student and kept making her affirmations. Her dog whined and wanted to go out. She put on his leash and walked down the street in the accustomed direction. However, the dog pulled at his leash and wanted to go in another direction. She followed, and in the middle of the block, opposite an open park, she looked down and picked up a roll of bills which exactly covered the rent. She looked for ads, but never found the owner. There were no houses near where she found it. The reasoning mind, the intellect, takes the throne of Pharaoh in your consciousness. It says continually, it can be done. It can't be done. What's the use? We must drown out these dreary suggestions with a vital affirmation. For example, take this statement. The unexpected happens. My seemingly impossible good now comes to me. This stops all argument from the army of the aliens, in brackets, the reasoning mind. The unexpected happens. That is an idea it cannot cope with. Thou hast made me wiser than my enemies. Your enemy, thoughts, your doubts, fears, and apprehensions. Think of the joy of really being free forever from the Pharaoh of the oppression, to have the idea of security, health, happiness, and abundance established in the subconscious. It would mean a life free from all limitation. Feel rich and successful. Suddenly, you'll receive a large check or a beautiful gift. All life is vibration, and we vibrate to happiness, success, and abundance. The things which symbolize these states of consciousness will attach themselves to us. I tell the story showing the working of this law. I went to a party where people played games, and whoever won received a gift. The prize was a beautiful fan. Amongst those present was a very rich woman who had everything. Her name was Clara. The poor and resentful ones got together and whispered, "We hope Clara doesn't get the fan." Of course Clara won the fan. She was carefree and vibrating to abundance. Envy and resentment short-circuit your good and keep away your fans. If you should happen to be resentful and envious, take the statement, "What God has done for others, He now does for me and more." Then all the fans and things will come your way. No man gives to himself but himself, and no man takes away from himself but himself. The game of life is a game of solitaire. As you change, all conditions will change. Now to go back to Pharaoh the oppressor, no one loves an oppressor. I remember a friend I had many years ago. Her name was Letty. Her father had plenty of money and supplied her mother and herself with food and clothes, but no luxuries. We went to art school together, and all the students would buy reproductions of the Winged Victory, Whistle's Mother, or something to bring art into their homes. My friend's father called all these things plunder. He would say, "Don't bring home any plunder." So she lived a colorless life without a Winged Victory on her bureau or Whistle's Mother on the wall. He would say often to my friend and her mother, "When I die, you'll both be well off." One day someone said to Letty, "When are you going abroad?" All art students went abroad. She replied cheerfully, "Not till Papa dies." So people always look forward to being free from lack and oppression. Let us now free ourselves from the tyrants of negative thinking. We have been slaves to doubt, fear, and apprehension, and let us be delivered as Moses delivered the children of Israel, and come out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Find the thought which is your great oppressor. Find the kingpin. In the logging camps in spring, the logs are sent down in great numbers. Sometimes the logs become crossed and cause a jam. The men look for the log causing the jam. They call it the kingpin. Straighten it, and the logs rush down the river again. Maybe your kingpin is resentment. Resentment holds back your good. The more you resent, the more you will have to resent. You grow a resentment track in your brain, and your expression will be one of habitual resentment. You will be avoided and miss the golden opportunity which awaits you each day. I remember a few years ago the streets were filled with men selling apples. They got up early to get the good corners. I passed one several times on Park Avenue. He had the most disagreeable expression I've ever seen. As people passed by, "Apples, apples," but no one stopped to buy. I invested in an apple and said, "You'll never sell apples unless you change your expression." He replied, "Well, that guy over there took my corner." I said, "Never mind about the corner. You can sell apples right here if you look pleasant." He said, "Okay, lady," and I went on. The next day, I saw him. His whole expression had changed. He was doing a big business selling apples with a smile. So, find your kingpin. You may have more than one, and your logs of success, happiness, and abundance will go rushing down your river. Go therefore now and work, for there shall no straw be given you, yet you shall make bricks without straw. End of chapter 2.